Welcome to Star Trek Selections for the original series Season 2. These are my top 5 episodes of the season. First, at number 5, By Any Other Name, directed by Mark Daniels and written by D.C. Fontana and Jerome Bixby. While surveying a planet, the Enterprise crew run into an advanced race of aliens called the Kelvins, who have taken human form. They are led by Rojan, played by Warren Stevens. Oh, and Kalinda's also there. That's Barbara Boucher. I'm gonna need a moment. Okay, anyway, Rojan informs Kirk that they will be taking the Enterprise to the Andromeda Galaxy, and that if Kirk refuses, he'll turn his crew into blocks of minerals, which he demonstrates. If the blocks are crushed, the person is dead, but they can be brought back if kept intact. Kirk has little choice but to agree. The Kelvins board the ship and make polystyrene out of most of the apparently unnecessary crew, and it is left to Kirk, Spock, Bones and Scotty to save the day. When one of the Kelvins is noticed really getting into that Star Trek Play-Doh food, apparently counter to the ultra-stoic Kelvin way, it is decided that they need to emotionally trigger each of the Kelvins. Scotty gets one drunk, Bones drugs one into paranoia, and Kirk and Spock work on Rojan and Kalinda. Ah, Barbara Boucher. Okay, I'm back. Kirk naturally goes for the seduction of the oh-so-damn-lovely Kalinda.
For hitting you, I'm sorry.
That is not necessary. You attempted to escape as we would have.
Yes, well, I don't usually go around beating up beautiful women.
Why not?
Well, there are better things for men and women to do.
Like what?
It's good to be the captain. Meanwhile, Spock sparks Rojan's jealousy of Kirk and Kalinda, and eventually the Kelvins realise that being human is pretty cool and decide to head back. I love it when Kirk saves the day with his libido. There are actually a lot of really strong episodes in Season 2 of Star Trek, so the fact that this even makes my top 5 says, well, it probably says a lot about how jaw-droppingly gorgeous I think Barbara Boucher was. Not super enlightened, I know, but honesty is the best policy. And the episode as a whole is very cool, with high stakes, plenty of humour, some good insight, and some nice things to say about humanity. It's top-level Trek. But just quietly, without Kalinda, by any other name is probably down at 7th or 8th place for me. Sorry, I'll get back on the clock for the next one. At number 4 is A Piece of the Action, directed by James Comack and written by David P. Harmon and Gene L. Kuhn. The Enterprise is sent to Sigma Iosha 2 to investigate potential cultural contamination from the arrival of the Horizon a century earlier. They find a planet modelled entirely after Chicago gangsters of the 1920s, due to the fact that the Horizon crew left a book about 1920s mobs on the planet when they left, which the inhabitants have adopted as a way of life. Kirk, Spock and Bones are taken by the goons of Boss Bella Oxmix, who wants phasers for his men. They soon escape due to Kirk distracting Oxmix's men with a made-up game he calls Fizbin. No sooner does Kirk get away from Oxmix's goons, he's picked up by the goons of Jojo Krako, a rival boss, who also wants phasers. Kirk then gets out of that, and he and Spock don some gangster outfits, and thus begins Shatner and Nimoy having an absolute blast, playing everything for laughs. Shatner hamming it up like crazy, and Nimoy brilliantly playing along.
All right, Spocko, cover him.
Kirk, with a little show of force from the Enterprise, convinces the bosses to form a syndicate, and the Federation gets a piece of the action. This is one of those pure fun episodes of Trek, another one of those weird planet-like Earth in Another Time episodes. Did I settle on Snow Globe episodes for those? Well, let's consider it a placeholder for now. The majority of the enjoyment comes from Shatner and Nimoy playing 20s mobsters. That's essentially why it makes my top 5. Coming in at number 3, Patterns of Force, directed by Vincent McAvity and written by John Meredith Lucas. The Enterprise is sent to find respected historian John Gill on the planet Ecos and discover if there has been any cultural contamination. A lot of that going around in those days. And yeah, I'd say there was some cultural contamination, alright, since when Kirk and Spock beam down, they find actual freaking Nazis. Apparently, the revered Mr. Gill, seeing a society in complete disarray, decided on the model of Nazi Germany to help the Ecosians, since it was an excellent example of creating a flourishing society out of ruins. He figured that if he just cut out the nasty ethnic cleansing stuff, it'd be cool. Well, that ethnic cleansing stuff found a way to turn up anyway, with neighbouring planet Xeon being the target of extermination. Kirk and Spock find that the Führer, Gil, has been drugged and kept as a figurehead, while the awful deputy Führer, Melicon, has been running the show. With help from the Xeon-Ecosian resistance underground, Kirk and Spock manage to reach Gil and bring in Bones to revive Gil. He holds on just long enough to out Melicon as the rat bastard he is before dying. Shatner and Nimoy having a bit of fun playing dress-up again, but the subject matter is a lot more sensitive, so they don't go too hard on the humour. But it is a lot of fun seeing Spock putting the pinch on several Nazis throughout the course of the episode. Plus, Kirk gets to beat up a couple too, and watching Nazis get punched in the face is always satisfying. Is that why the episode is so high on my list? Kicking Nazi ass? Probably. Hell, it's less shallow than the main reason I had for By Any Other Name. Ah, Kalinda. My choice for number 2 is Mirror Mirror, directed by Mark Daniels and written by Jerome Bixby. The episode that introduced us to the Mirror Universe, and to the idea that evil doppelgangers have goatees. Due to a transporter glitch, Kirk, Bones, Uhura, and Scotty find themselves in the aforementioned Mirror Universe, a universe where the peaceful Federation is now a warlike empire. Sulu is a sleazy, aggressive prick, Chekhov is a murderous mutineer, and Spock has a goatee. But other than that, he's pretty much the same. Kirk and co must find a way back to their Enterprise, while navigating the many dangers posed by a ship populated with assholes, all while trying to stop them from destroying the pacifist Hulkans. Kirk is aided by Marlena, the captain's woman from that universe, and eventually Spock, who Kirk tries to convince that peace is a more logical way. The Mirror Universe was a very cool idea, which clearly had some legs, since it has reappeared in Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, and Discovery so far. It serves to highlight not only the great benefits of a society like the Federation, but also as a mirror held up to our own society, and its tendency to often lean toward evil. It is with good reason one of the most well-known and beloved Star Trek episodes, and very close to my favourite episode of Season 2. Finally, at number 1, it's Amok Time, directed by Joseph Pevney and written by Theodore Sturgeon. Well, of course it is. Possibly the best Spock episode, and like millions of others, Spock is my favourite character in the show. So, Spock is acting weird, emotional, aggressive even. He explains he must return to Vulcan but will not say why. Kirk is happy to oblige, but when the Enterprise is ordered to hurry the hell up onto their mission, he has to tell Spock to wait. But Spock's behaviour gets worse, so Bones checks him over, and he's a wreck. Spock eventually confesses to Kirk that it's the Pon farr. He has to get laid or die. We've all been there, am I right? So Kirk says to hell with his orders and goes to Vulcan to save his friend. When they arrive, a big old Vulcan ceremony begins. I really think all this pomp doesn't really fit with that whole Vulcan logic thing, but anyway. And just when Spock is about to bang a gong to get it on, his intended T'Pring stops him and asks for ritual combat instead. For a twist, she chooses Kirk as her champion. He could refuse, but doesn't, to protect Spock. Then out come the Lurpers, and the fight is on. Spock ain't holding back because he's totally hormonal, so McCoy shoots Kirk up with something that makes him seem dead for a few minutes later. Everybody there, including Spock, think that Kirk is dead, and the whole Pon farr issue is settled. Of course, Spock is none too thrilled with himself.
Live long and prosper, Spock.
I shall do neither. I have killed my captain and my friend.
But he is atypically overjoyed at the sight of Kirk alive and well. So why is this my number 1? Well, where do I start? Well, we finally get to look at the planet Vulcan. There's an epic battle between two best friends. Bones, always the important third leg of the tripod, steps in to save the day. But mainly, it is Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock, the actor and the character. Nimoy does an excellent job whether he is desperately trying to contain his emotions or finally letting them out. And Spock as a character is given more depth here, thanks to Sturgeon's teleplay. Overall, a compelling and thoroughly entertaining episode, and my favourite of Star Trek Season 2. Join me next time on Star Trek Selections when I will be discussing my top 5 episodes of Star Trek Season 3. Live long and prosper.